Yo, we just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the four ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Host George Mckay back here on the wonderful world of YouTube and on Radioland. If you don't know, this is Ringside 5. This is another show that I do along with Straight Talk Wrestling, and I couldn't do this show without my PIC, one of my very best friends in life and in wrestling, the one, the only, voice of reason. And I call her that because she does have a reasonable spectrum of things that she says, and she reins me in from time to time. Not on every episode, especially this one, because the segments I picked, she was very not a fan of. But anyways, without further ado, welcome the voice of reason, Michelle Arujo.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Well, I mean, I'm excited about today.
I am too.
Yeah, but I feel like when I chose so this is going to be the top 5 craziest non-wrestling segments. And when I chose my 2, right off the bat, I chose my 2. I didn't have to think. I knew. And when I sent my 2, the thought process was I knew he was going to go there, but I was hoping for better. And yet I deliver. You know what I deliver on? I deliver on consistency.
Oh, you know what? I can't argue with that.
I'm consistent.
You play the crazy card quite often. And
when you think I'm going to surprise you, I do, but in the worst way possible.
You do.
I do. The worst way ever. So without further ado, you got 1, 3, and 5 this week.
Yeah, I do.
I got 2 and 4. 2 is gonna blow some people's minds. 4 might be questionable. And then, of course, for the first time ever in Ringside 5, we might do some honorable mentions because I think there's one that we do have to debate. That was one of Michelle's that you pulled off the list. We were talking about it before, so I feel like we have to get into it.
Okay,
but that'll be after.
Yeah,
that'll be the one honorable mention.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I turn over number 5 to you.
Okay, so I want us to go back to, June 11, 2007, sorry.
It's a good year.
It was a good year. It was a good time in wrestling. Specifically the end of that episode of Raw, because we got one of the weirdest things to ever happen. It left us on a great cliffhanger. I will say, like, cinematically, it left us on a cliffhanger.
Okay, yes.
Rewatched it before meeting up with you today, like, just to, refresh my brain.
Oh, you went back to rewatch that segment?
I rewatched all the segments I chose.
Okay.
I rewatched just so that I could have it fresh in my brain. And
can I just say this? I too this morning tried to watch it. I did. I tried to watch the 2 segments. Problem is, my 2 segments have been barred from like every situational thing. And if they are available, they're available in like edits. So people have done like edits to them where it's not the original natural segment.
No. You want to see the original segment.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
My number 5 this week is the Vince McMahon limo explosion.
Okay.
I just thought that was so weird, even leading up to the whole explosion. He's walking out of the building. There's all these wrestlers, like he's just walking through, like it's weird, right? He looks a little, he's doing his Vince McMahon thing, to be honest, right? He gets outside. He looks like he can sense something strange. He can feel it in the air, so to speak.
Oh, is it like Phil Collins in the air tonight?
He just stops. And then there's these 2 obscure guys sitting like kind of in the background. They're having their own conversation, but like in the frame, it's Vince, these 2 guys. It's weird. But then he continues on and he opens the limo door. He gets in.
Huh?
1 foot goes, like both feet go, 1 foot goes in, sorry. The other foot goes in. Then the second foot goes back out. The camera pans back out to get you the full picture of the limousine. Then foot in, door closed, boom. Explosion.
Wow.
And that's how they ended the episode of Raw.
And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember this. Did the next Raw not have the 10 bell salute for Vince McMahon? Did they not like
they played it up? You know what? They even played it up. They removed him from the roster on the website. They really
okay, so they went
in to be like, he's gone, right? And like, to me, I see both sides. Like, I will say cinematically beautiful, right? I question the foot going in and out, but then
it could be like sometimes when you step in a car and then you're like, oh shit, I got to get something. You have to get in your pocket and you get out again. So maybe it's one of those things.
I don't know. I think it was more of a cue where he knew I have to leave 1 foot out so that they could think about it. He's planning. This is how it has to happen. Plus they need to cut it at a certain time, right? so that he can splice
So, do you
it.
think you caught the cut? Did you catch the splice?
No, I think I caught Vince McMahon making an error with the
Shh,
foot.
not Vince McMahon. Not Vincent
Not
Kennedy
not the
McMahon.
great Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Yeah, I think, but I mean, it is what it is, right? It was a slow, like his foot went, both feet were in, and then I guess he thought, oh no, I need to count to 10 or something so that we can get
Right.
the right.
Okay.
Like
So
that's what I think
it was in
happened.
preparation.
Yeah, right.
Gotcha.
Because when you step into a car, you do it naturally. You go in, you put one foot, and then the next, right? You
It's
don't.
like the hokey pokey. You put one foot in, you
You put
take one foot out, dun, 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 and you shake it all about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a thing.
so. But then that whole thing was cut kind of short due to like the whole Chris
Time constrictions.
Benoit. No, it's the Chris Benoit thing
Oh, that's right. It was
happened
right in the middle. Yes.
like I think a week or two after, and then all of this stopped. And like understandably, so many things
Hmm.
changed. Like that whole situation, like threw everything up in the air for sure. Right. And then how do you
Yeah.
land on your feet as a company to like show respect there? Because they did do that on Raw.
Yeah,
They
they
did
did the
have
empty
that.
arena.
Yeah, they did that. And like just thinking about when something happens like that, how do you navigate through that, right? How do you mitigate whatever as a company that's supposed to be putting on a show every week?
And then
Like
you
it
can't,
gets
when one of your own dies in the circumstances and they hadn't found out what had actually happened at that
yeah, and
time.
everything is so like everything was so
You
tragic and
can't have a story about
yeah,
death and
yeah,
all
yeah,
this going.
yeah.
I
Like
got you.
so
I feel
Vince
you.
that whole storyline had to be scrapped. And I mean rightfully so. Where were they going with it?
Well, I mean, one would think, and again, this is me just thinking normally on a regular basis. This is not anything different. One would think that they would have done something along the lines of a Succession type storyline.
Hmm.
So, was Vince murdered, or was this just an accident? Who did it? Was it Linda McMahon in the library with a dildo? We'll never know these things. And I say dildo because I'm also throwing shade at the dildos in the office that were named after wrestlers in the Janelle Grant case. So, anyways, besides that though, like it was, I feel like that's where they were going with it. Like
Hmm.
who killed him? Why did they kill him? And was it for Succession? And then lo and behold,
Hmm.
it would have been something along the lines of like an internal family war, or maybe in essence, Vince faked his own death. And it
Hmm.
was just a play because at the time, I believe the storyline was that him and Linda were actually getting a divorce. So if you die, you can't pay anybody anything.
Huh.
So I think this was all. I think that's where they might have been going with it. Again, this is just
Hmm.
me thinking off the top of my head. Naturally, this is just thoughts that are coming.
No, well, I always think that the best murder is your own.
Yeah, yeah.
Like faking your own death is probably the like that's the only one you're gonna possibly get away with, especially now with technology. Everyone will leave a fingerprint, a piece of hair, something is gonna your internet browser history is gonna be the thing that
But
catches
like,
you. But like, you know?
but like, does Double Jeopardy play for that? Like Double Jeopardy, the rule that you've heard of the
Yeah.
rule of Double
Yes,
Jeopardy.
yeah.
Like if you get convicted of a crime and then that person is still alive, you could kill them again and get away with it essentially. So like if they were say to have somebody accused, like maybe he was gonna accuse Stephanie and Shane of his murder, take his kids out at the knees,
Hmm.
but then he comes back alive, and all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, they're off scot free because they didn't kill him. So double
Yeah.
jeopardy would apply, and then they could go and shoot him or something, and then he's dead again.
Hmm.
But I wonder, out of all the things that they could have done, like they could have simply had the limo drive to the airport. Maybe he goes in the WWE jet and then the jet mysteriously vanishes or crashes. Like all the things they could have done, just something simple as a bomb in a limo, just seems like it's almost seems like they phoned this death story in.
Hmm.
Or do you feel like this was like the safe way to do it? Like this is what they could get away with on TV without
No,
really.
I think it was just cool. I think Vince wanted to blow something up.
I get it.
Like, I
I
think,
get it.
right? Like, how
Yeah.
cool is that? Like, I'm gonna be
I
able
I want to
to,
blow
yeah,
shit up.
I want to do that.
Dude, that's why Seth Rogen wrote Superbad. All he wanted to do was blow up a cop car and he did it.
Let's go.
Did it. Him and Bill Hader. Oh, Bill Hader. Love that guy.
He's great.
He is so great. So good. All right. Well, that's a solid number 5. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
thanks.
Number 4 is not so PG. Number 4 takes us back to in the midst of the Attitude Era. I'm not sure the exact date. It was hard to research these things because when you Google this particular segment, a lot of things come up. Mainly, are you sure this is what you're looking for? Yes, this is what I was looking for. Mark Henry is sexual chocolate. Mark Henry is a ladies' man. Mark Henry has found the love of his life. And it is 86-year-old Mae Young. And they're loving it. They are making out on TV. They are groping each other. They are going to town on their sexy parts. And then amazingness happens. She's expecting. I don't know why you're laughing. She's expecting. They're going to bring a life into this world. And as she sits there and rubs her tummy and they go through the whole process, then all of a sudden her water breaks on Raw. And the doctor that can never seem to fix anyone is going to give birth to this baby. And this baby is there, and Mark Henry's nervous. Moolah's there for support. Mae Young's on the bed. She's got her knees up in the air. She's pushing for everything. And then it happens. And it's a fully grown adult hand. Yes. Now, at this time in the world, you were what? 10?
Maybe, I don't know. I was a little kid.
You're a little kid. You were haunted by this situation.
Yeah, it was incredibly bizarre.
Okay, I was a teenager at this time in life, and I was going through, the growing pains of puberty. And things were, I was wondering about sex and birth and all these things. And then I see this, and I think, do I even want to?
Yeah, horrifying.
Do I
horrifying.
Is this what I want to do? And again, it was already weird because it's Mark Henry and Mae Young. There's decades between these two. Not years, not months, literal decades in time. When Mae Young was Mark Henry's age, the Great Depression had just begun.
Oh my God.
Okay? It's unnatural to believe that this was a thing, but this was a thing and it happened and it's out there. And I couldn't find the segments. I did find edits, however, and some of the edits, kudos to you on the internet, because the internet, as horrible of a place as it is, as toxic of a place that it is, can I tell you about the edits that were one person had Hello Kitty.
Oh.
Yeah. One person had Chucky.
Oh my God.
Like there were people that they've edited this video, instead of the hand, they pull out these imageries, and they're not great edits. Like one of them's just a picture.
They're not great edits.
No, they're not. One of them's a picture of just like, it's like a picture of Chucky. And the doctor's like holding the picture just moves where his hand moves.
And you can tell like it's
they just cropped it in.
Amazing.
But still, the fact that somebody put Chucky in, they try to get the natural order of things correctly. And this segment deserves to be on this list because this segment for me was a wow. I mean, like I said, wait till you get to number 2, guys, okay? Because number 2, this show might get canceled. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what the world's going to say. But only the minds of a Vince Russo, the minds of a Vince McMahon, the powers that be, the writers at the time could come up with something like this. And not only did we buy it as wrestling fans, for whatever reason, it sticks into our minds. It's like one of those situations. Like I can remember the first time I had a drink of alcohol underage.
Yeah.
I can remember the first cigarette I ever smoked because I puked my guts out. I was 11. I can remember the first time I saw boobs. I can remember so many things. And I can also remember when Mae Young gave birth to a fully grown adult hand. And I'm glad that they went with an adult hand, because if they had gone with a baby hand, things might have been questionable. But they went with an adult hand. And the fact is, I don't remember what happened after the segment. I don't even remember the dialogue, if there was any dialogue spoken. I don't remember how this storyline ended or where it went from there. All I remember is that Mae Young, in her twilight years, very, very twilight, she gave birth to a hand. And that is your number 4 on the craziest non-wrestling segments. You got nothing to say.
I got nothing to say because it definitely deserves to be on this list. That has to be hands down one of the craziest non-wrestling segments.
It's crazy, and you think
in all history. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Every bit of it is just. You know that Nick Young meme where he kind of like tilts his head and then all the question marks pop up? Yeah, that's the one for me.
But do you think like the writers, I wanted to get into this part with you because I'm just curious as to where my mind goes here immediately. But do you think the writers were there and they were like, okay, so we got to do the big birth. It's happening this week. What do you guys want to do? Like, what should we do? Maybe she gives birth to a stapler. Like, maybe she gives birth to like a rubber chicken. Like, do you think there were options for what was born before they settled on the hand, or do you think the hand was always the choice? Like, I'm not asking you to get into Vince Russo's mind. That's a
No,
scary place.
I really think that they maybe put some stuff up on a wall and threw a dart.
Oh, you think that?
Yeah.
Like a vision board of shit that could be born.
Yeah, and just close their eyes and whoop.
All right, guys.
There we go.
All right, so that's 3 for the hand. All right, 3 people have hit the hand. So yeah, we're gonna go with the
We're
hand.
gonna go with the hand. All right. Let's give a hand for the hand.
Oh, I pulled my thing out. I pulled my headphones out. Oh, that was amazing. It was so worth it. It was worth it. I don't care. It was worth it. All right, but under the circumstances, that is number 4. So now, see, guys, Michelle has really. The reason why I love the Ringside 5 is because Michelle really, she goes in depth. She researches. I love it. I love it. Me, I think of the shit that makes Michelle cringe. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy the looks that she gives me. Like right now, you can't see it because we're on the screen. Her mouth is covered, but she's got look at the left eyebrow, ladies and gentlemen. The left eyebrow is slightly raised, and it's very much rockish. And she's like, why do I get myself in these situations? And she does. You know why, guys? You know why? I'm gonna pull her over here right close to me. Because guys, we're besties. That's what we are. And besties, they appreciate each other for their faults. They appreciate each other for their outside of the box thinking. And they appreciate each other for the fact that they can both remember in different ways Mae Young birthing a hand. And now without further ado, number 3.
I have to say, like, just for another second, that had to be one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. And I while I will roll my eyes that it's on the list, it definitely deserves to be there. Like, I can't.
The concept
What
is
am I supposed to
top
say about
5
that, right?
crazy. It's a non-wrestling segment. It was crazy.
So
it happened.
So for number 3, we're gonna go back to about 99. I just want to end that conversation like as quick as possible. So we're gonna go back to 1999.
We're in the midst of the Attitude Era as well.
Ministry of Darkness, right? We've got The Undertaker, but we also have his feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Great
right?
feud. Great feud.
Really good feud. But at this point in time, Austin is just getting messed with. Everyone's getting messed with. Linda, Stephanie, you name it. They're getting messed with, and nobody knows who it is. The only moniker they can give this entity, this being, is the higher power, right?
And who's higher than the Undertaker, really, when it comes to dark demonic twisted shit?
at that time, right? So him saying that there's a higher power really made it seem like he's connected to the supernatural,
or
right?
somebody's definitely controlling him.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's in the ring. I'm just trying to set the picture for you. He's in the ring, with his ministry folk, and he's just saying the higher power is going to reveal themselves now. And at this point, everybody thinks it's Shane. A lot of people do think it's Shane.
The evidence at the time would suggest that it was.
And he comes out and he's like, it's not me, guys.
Oh.
It's not me, because the entity had already come out with his hood, and he's standing in the ring. Shane comes out afterwards, revealing that it's obviously not him.
Uh-huh.
And Shane is taunting Vince, saying, come on out, Vince. Why don't you, disrobe this guy? Show us who the higher power is yourself. You show us. And Vince comes on the screen. He had pre-recorded himself saying, oh, whatever he says. Honestly, I'm not going to say it. I don't remember, even though I watched it earlier. But what I'm getting to is that it's Vince. It's Vince. When they remove the hood, it's Vince. And we get that memorable, it was me, Austin.
It was always me.
And then I will say the best part about that whole segment is Linda coming out and revealing that Stone Cold is actually the CEO, that she, relinquished her spot as CEO, and that now Stone Cold Steve Austin is the CEO. And he just comes in and
isn't he wearing like the baseball shirt with a tie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The baseball shirt, a red tie. And even before he starts speaking, he's like, I'm taking this tie off. Like, he's like, this is out. Like,
I love how when wrestlers used to come out, when like Linda was heavily involved in the storylines as she was back then. I love how the wrestlers would come out and they would all like shake her hand and be so nice with her.
Yes.
And they would look at Vince and
that's exactly what he did. He came out, he shook Linda's hand, and then he's like, this is for you.
Yeah. Oh, I did it again. I did it again. I'm pulling this stupid cord out. Oh, it's amazing. You know what? That's a solid segment. That is a solid segment because you know what? It was a wrestling storyline, and there were so many like little. If you go back and you really watch the whole storyline, there were so many Easter eggs that were kind
Yeah.
of planted. Like when Stephanie's in the boiler room, and the only person that can find her are the like Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe.
Weird.
Like how they became the heroes of
Yeah,
that
odd.
situation. But the the buffoons, they find her, and Vince is like, we gotta get protection for my little girl, Daddy's little girl. And then even when Austin is on the cross the week before,
Yeah.
and one of like the goons is like one of like the as you call them, the ministry folk, as one of the
I don't know.
as one of the disciples, the ministry folk, if you will, is like looking at him. Austin's like seemed to be focusing on just one, and it's
Yeah.
like he knew. It's like he knew before he knew.
Energy doesn't lie.
Energy doesn't lie. No, it doesn't. It
No.
doesn't. So when you even when you're wearing a robe and you're still doing the Vince McMahon walk, you're still doing the Vince McMahon walk just in a robe.
This is very true. This is very true. But I think when he came down in the robe to do the reveal, it was just very muted. But I have to say, Stone Cold and Vince McMahon gave us some of the greatest segments.
Greatest.
I'm seeing now Vince McMahon being in the hospital and Austin coming through with the bedpan.
Great segment. Great segment. Or even when Stone Cold was hunting Vince McMahon.
Oh my God.
With the fucking clown bang gun. Yeah. So good. Honestly, there was some, I mean, there's a lot of segments that could have easily made this list, but this was a crazy segment. This was a crazy segment, and I think it deserves the spot. There's a couple honorable mentions. Like, but honestly, I threw out two crazy ones because I wanted to go butt shit crazy. But another non-wrestling segment would have been one I would have gone with had you been like, I don't know, it was a little touch and go, maybe do one safe one and one crazy one.
Yeah.
I would have went with DX attacking WCW in the tank.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would have went with that one.
Yeah.
But that's not what I went with, by the way. I'm just throwing it out there. That is not two. Two is
It was
so
a good segment though. Like I think the Attitude Era gave us a lot of those crazy non-wrestling
It
segments.
did.
Right?
It really did.
It
And
was more entertainment focused.
Yeah, it was. And it, like going to the WCW crowd, saying how they got tickets given
Yeah,
to
yeah.
them. And even when Billy Gunn and Road Dogg get lost in the extended
Oh my
version, and
God.
Billy goes, "Don't worry, I've got my Sam's Club card. We can buy anything at Sam's Club." And it was so random. And China there not saying or doing anything, and X-Pac getting over animated by the front door, and our pals Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. It's like, dude, relax. You were 6 for like 3 seconds, and you're just riding Triple H's coattails. Calm down. Calm down, dude. It's not that.
Rein it in, buddy.
It's not that deep. But yeah, that's a solid number 3. I enjoy that number 3. And now, without
yeah.
further ado, number
Buckle
2.
in, folks.
Buckle up, buckle in.
Yeah.
Get ready. Now, a lot of people think this segment didn't air. Well, but it aired. It aired. It was promptly cut from any vault situations, but it aired. It aired in the midst 2002 to 2003. I believe this was the time when Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels were probably starting their feud with Shawn Michaels and God versus Vince McMahon and the Devil. And this was a situation where this was not part of that storyline. No. This is where you've got to wonder. This is how I picture things went down, okay?
Okay.
I believe that Kane, yes, if you know where I'm going, Kane was brought into the boardroom. Kane was sat down, and Vince was like, I got a really good idea for you. And Kane's like, cool. Like, what's the idea? Like, I'm going to be mayor of a city one day. What's the idea? And Vince is like, you're going to do things. And Kane's like, cool, what am I doing? He's like, you're going to go into a funeral home. You're going to take your shirt off. You're going to wear baby light blue jeans. You're going to lift up a casket, and inside that casket, there is going to be a body. And you are going to sleep with that dead body.
You mean like sleep? Just take a little nappy?
No, not take a nappy. Like, we're talking balls to the wall. Yeah. You know, the kind of sleeping that parents say they're doing when their kids are sleeping? No. Yeah. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the time that Kane fornicated with a dead body.
Jesus.
This made it on TV for a brief minute. And it was promptly cut. And Vince McMahon, yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, Vince McMahon, at this time, Vince Russo was long gone. Vince McMahon thought this was a good idea for television. How far we've come. Because, you know, if you go back to the 1950s, Michelle, little known fact, Lucy and Ricky were the first couple to actually have a situation where a baby was being born on television.
Right.
But Lucy and Ricky are always the first ones to really talk about, getting to there.
Right.
But if you went into their bedroom when they weren't, the beds were pushed apart.
Yes.
But it was the first time you ever got to see inside a couple's bedroom. And even then, that was risque, Michelle.
Yes,
that
it
was risque.
That's right.
And that's the 1950s, 60s.
Yep.
Look at us 50 years later. Before we couldn't even have beds together. Now we can sleep with dead people on television. That's right. Kane fornicating with a dead body and getting quite into it, might I add, will forever be number 2. Could easily slide into number 1.
Don't slide. No phrasing.
Kane slid into something. This could slide into that.
No.
Yeah, soak it in, buddy.
Call an adult.
Soak it in. At the time you could call an adult, you should call a preacher. You should do everything under the sun.
Oh.
At this point in time, we had seen everything there is to see.
Until that happened, yeah.
Until that happened. And then at that point, you're there in your life, and I'm there in my life, and I'm thinking, bucket list, guys. I could check this off it. I mean, and then you know what the funny thing was is that there actually was a movie called Kissed that came out 2 or 3 years before where a girl worked in a funeral parlor and did sleep with dead.
Oh,
and
God.
guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This film is proudly Canadian.
Of course it is.
It is. I watched it in film school.
You're like, it's real. I don't know what else to say to you.
It's there. Just like Kane sleeping with a dead body is there. Now, when you Google Kane sleeping with a dead body, you get, are you sure this is what you're searching for?
Obviously.
I
mean,
I couldn't find it. I could find snippets. I could find the clip from the Vince McMahon documentary talking about the segment and them saying that it got pulled. It didn't get pulled. It aired. It aired. It was out there. It was filmed. It was done.
Yeah.
It was on an episode of Raw.
But just because you can't find it anywhere now doesn't mean that it was pulled. It was pulled. It's pulled now.
Yeah, it's pulled now.
Everywhere. But
of course.
Yeah. But also when you think about Vince McMahon's segments, not only segments, but the things that he's wanted to do in wrestling, they're always out there. Nothing will surprise me after learning that he wanted to be the father of Stephanie's first baby.
Yes, that was an idea. Or the fact that he wanted to pay-per-view his daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
Like her actual real life wedding to Triple H.
Like, I don't know. That part, like the baby daddy thing was just like, where are you living?
Well, but us knowing now from the Netflix documentary, the fact that he was sexually assaulted, abused by his mother, I mean, it makes sense that his mind would go there because he was used to incest. The trauma.
Yeah. But
so to him, incest was a natural thing.
Yeah. Yes. And it's so sad when something happens like that. You either become the aggressor or you become a defendant for those that it's happened to. Mm-hmm. It only happens one of the two ways, like at least in my research from watching whatever I have watched. Mm-hmm. But so like I understand that, but just also like, dude, read the room. Read the room.
There's been a lot of stuff on this list where someone should have read the room and nobody read the room.
Because it's Vince McMahon reading the room.
Absolutely right. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to recap before we get to number 1, on this list, we have a fake death limousine explosion.
Yep.
We have the birth of an adult hand out of an old lady.
Check.
We have... Check. There's the bucket list again. Check. Oh, God, Jesus. What was number 3 again?
It was me, Austin.
Oh, yeah. We have the big reveal of the higher power. And again, how shocking is it that, of course, Vince McMahon would consider himself a higher power?
The god, right? Of course.
Of course. And then we have the fornication of a dead body in a funeral home. And now we have number 1. And you know what? Before we get into this, when this does air on YouTube, because this will be on YouTube, and it'll be available on all podcast platforms, no longer on the hub right now, but just on all straight, where you find Straight Talk Wrestling, you'll be able to find Ringside 5. This will... let us hear your list. I want to hear your 5.
Yeah, I definitely do.
And then obviously we're going to get into the honorable mentions before we wrap this one up. But Michelle, please, without further ado, give us your number 1.
So this has to be probably one of my favorite things I've ever seen on wrestling television ever.
Oh my God, are you doing the body thing too?
No, I'm not. You wish. So let's take us also back to 1999. At this time,
You love the 90s, eh?
I'm a 90s baby through and through, man. So this is later on in the year, like end of November, I believe.
Right on my birthday. Nice.
And Stephanie is supposed to be marrying Test.
Oh, my
Or
sweet.
and is it Andrew J. Martin? I think
It's Andrew J. Martin at
that
the
was
time.
on
Yes.
the wedding
Yes.
invites.
Vince and Linda McMahon invite you to the wedding of their daughter, Stephanie.
But even leading up to the wedding was hilarious because there's a fight and Stephanie gets hit with something, so she gets concussed and then she has amnesia, so she doesn't even remember that she's with Test, and then she remembers, and then she proposes to him. But then we get to the wedding, right?
It's happening.
And
by this point, correct me if I'm wrong, just to cut you, just to interrupt quickly. Correct me if I'm wrong, this was the second televised wedding because we had the first only ever time I remember seeing a wedding in pro wrestling was Elizabeth and
I was just getting to that because they used the same
Nice.
wedding song as Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth.
What a tune, man. What a tune.
You know what the best part about that song is Sasha knows every word to that song. And when and if I get married, she is singing that at my wedding. That will be my wedding gift because
I can do it.
I know it's just a Sasha thing. It's,
Oh, okay.
I don't need you.
My endless love.
But
My love.
so they're in the ring. The priest or the officiant says,
So weird, by the way, to have a priest with the history of what this family is.
odd.
But yeah.
And in the middle of the ring, I'm like, okay, whatever, man. You know, Stephanie looks pretty in her dress. She looks so happy.
That archway that they
the freaking
that archway looks like they stole it from some old lady's house in like West Virginia.
They were like, you don't need this in your backyard, lady. Let's well, we're gonna take that off your hands.
Bring it on, Franny.
So the officiant asks, is what's the line? Oh my god, I'm drawing.
Is there anyone now who objects?
Yes.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
That's right. That's
and
right.
we hear, can I do it?
Yeah, of course.
We hear, it's time to play the game.
No, it's not that. It's not that theme song.
Yeah, but I want it to be.
It's not though, because the theme song is actually really good. It's the DX Triple H song, and I forgot that that theme song
that
for
was
Triple
banger.
H was really good.
Yeah, it was we're gonna give it some Triple H.
And like all the green and the like.
No.
That was a good.
And he came out with the he's wearing like the backwards Kango hat.
No, he was wearing the backwards Kango hat when they do the drive-through.
Right, but that's right.
And
he just had
that hat.
He just
had the leather jacket
with the flower.
Yes, with the flower. That's right, with the freaking flower. And so he says, I object, like I need to interrupt. And he shows them a video of he and Stephanie going through a drive-through chapel in Vegas. And Stephanie's very obviously unconscious. Like
out
she's
like a light.
Gone. Right? Like very clearly, even Triple H voices for her because it's like, oh, I Triple H take Stephanie, blah blah, and so she's got to say her part, but then it's him saying, "Hi, Stephanie." Like it's actually pretty comical.
Yeah.
And the
fact that the drive-through chapel, she's like, "Hey, you're Triple H. Oh
yes.
my God, are you married to Stephanie McMahon?"
And like doesn't even say, "Stephanie, hello, friend." But
you're a woman, and I'm gonna look at you and say, "You look passed out, but you're completely coherent here in wanting this."
Right? Amazing. But I think the best part about that whole thing is Stephanie is in the ring screaming, "I hate you!"
Oh, and Test is pacing back and forth, like, and he's ripping stuff.
Mind. And then Triple H is like, "It's not about if we did, but how many times
did we?" God, and I know you got a question, Dad. It's not did we, but how many times did we? And then I remember because Vince is holding her, he's cuddling her. I hate you.
Losing her mind. The I hate you. Like,
and this ultimately leads to the Helmsley McMahon regime of 2000, 2001.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they actually go to renew their vows at the end of so the story starts with a wedding that gets interrupted. And it ends with a wedding that gets interrupted because Triple H finds out that Stephanie was unfaithful.
Oh, I thought it was she was faking her pregnancy.
She was faking her pregnancy, but he was going to leave her because she was unfaithful with Kurt Angle.
Oh, okay, yes. And then she's like, "Wait, I'm pregnant."
And then he stays, and then that's when he realizes.
Yes, and that's also a really good segment because they're in the ring and she's happy again. and he tears her apart.
Yeah, but then I believe JR with the solid ending as Triple H is walking back away from Stephanie's all like she's not crying anymore. She's angry.
Upset. Yeah.
She's an ex-wife.
Upset,
She's an ex-wife. And yeah, it gets
Hell
yeah
hath no fury.
of a scorned McMahon.
But that has to be one of my favorite segments, just to watch Stephanie. I hate you. And then also everything that we got because of that. Beautiful.
I mean, how many people can say that they've watched their hero marry his arch nemesis' daughter in a drive-through, wedding? I can. I have. 'Cause I've always been a Triple H guy. So I did it again. No, I didn't. I can still hear myself.
Aha!
All right. So that is number one. And I think that's a great number one. I enjoyed that segment. I don't have anything to say because everything you said touches on it. But I do want to talk about some honorable mentions. Like we throw out the DX one.
Yeah.
And there was one that you were really you were on the fence about.
Because it was out there. It was.
It was out there for you, but it completely normal if I had picked it.
Yeah, I yeah.
If I had picked it, you would have been like, okay, it's typical George.
Everybody would have been like, yeah,
that's typical George. Yeah, George would have done that.
Yeah.
We are talking about the time that Big Show lost his old man, and he went to the funeral to pay respects, and the Big Boss Man hooked that coffin to a chain and dragged it through a cemetery with at one point Big Show on it. Big Show tried to stop it. Didn't happen. Great segment. Twisted. Absolutely twisted. But I thoroughly think that is a strong DX in that. Honorable mentions, like MVPs for sure.
Yeah, I have no words for that just because, oh my God, that's somebody's dad. But then one other honorable mention before we go, Brock Lesnar fighting a shark underwater and F5ing it. Like, what was that?
But only Brock Lesnar could do that. That and be named in Janelle Grant's lawsuit officially today.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the wrestler that Vince McMahon offered. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah.
That was who.
Oh, yeah. It was official. It's been officially announced. Brock Lesnar's name has been dropped. I can't remember which news source I read it on. It wasn't Ringside News, so I know it's legitimate. Oh, shit. Snap. I went there.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Is this a school?
No, it's not a school. It's a funeral of Big Show's father. So without further ado, that is our top 5 craziest segments. And again, this is all opinionated. This is not factual. You're not going to find these lists anywhere. This is our opinionated top 5 craziest segments. So as always, I'm your host, your boy, George Mckay. All the links for Straight Talk Wrestling socials are below in this video. And of course, on any description for this video that you see there, this is called Ringside 5. So if you're listening to it on Straight Talk for the first time, well, welcome. And of course, Michelle Arujo, you can find her anywhere. Go ahead with your socials.
Michelle Arujo, _, but I'm sure I'll be linked.
Yeah, you will. You'll absolutely be linked. And of course, guys, if you slide into her DMs, don't be weird. I have to say that every episode because at the end of the day, my best friend, she's like a little sister to me.
It doesn't stop it from happening. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, but this is I can only say it. I'm not going to police your Instagram.
Maybe someone should. That's a topic for another day.
I have to wonder where the police were in all these segments. Because how did the cops not get called to a funeral where a coffin's being dragged through the cemetery? How did the cops not get called when a limo got blown up? How did the cops not get called when somebody was fornicating with a dead body in a funeral home?
But they get called when there's a brawl, right? There's been so many, like, dead.
Yeah, like, so get him out of here. They're always there to kick somebody out of an arena. Do none of you cops work for a living? That's another debate for another day. Anyways, peace, love, and wrestling, guys.
Bye.
We'll see you next week.
Yo, we just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the full ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.